Welcome to the Fatherly Tales podcast. Today I have a good friend with me. His name is Damien Wynne. He is an international business consultant, a coach. He's a consciousness hacker and an awareness teacher. I've actually worked with Damien as well, so I have real life feedback of his talents. And I just wanted to introduce him, say, hey, how you doing, Damien?
Nice to connect. Thank you for having me, Simon. Such a really, great to connect with you again. And yeah, thank you for opening this space because I feel this, we were sharing earlier about, working with men, for
Yeah,
example, what's happening in our systems from my own experience personally as well,
yeah,
how my life was affected by different things I wasn't aware of related to, for example, my ancestors or my father topic,
yeah,
or mother topic, how it affects the masculinity within the system.
yeah.
So yeah,
Amazing. So,
thank you for having me.
oh, you're welcome. So I've given like a little intro, but if you could give me maybe like or us, whoever's listening, like a maybe like a 60-second elevator pitch, I guess.
Sure.
Really, it's not really to sell yourself, but more to kind of explain
No,
to
I,
people
I,
what it might be.
I get it. I get it. So the work I do is about embodiment and to clear what is in the way of that. So I may have trauma from my childhood with my mother or my father or my ancestral trauma that through the epigenetics affect us,
Hmm.
the way we live. For example, I say my parents got divorced, then that's going to affect me and may bring divorce into my life or not be, or I'm afraid to be in a relationship because I lost my parents. I feel responsible for my parents splitting up, for example,
Mm-hmm.
or something, maybe my father wasn't very supportive or was putting me down, so then I've got low self-confidence, or I'm afraid of connection, or things like that. Or for example, men are not meant to show emotions. You're
Mm-hmm.
weak if you show emotions, whereas talking about, I'm working a lot with, recently with Latin men,
Mm-hmm.
and they're very good with their emotions, so it was like this brotherhood was very strong.
Yeah,
So these type of things for me are very important to bring up consciously,
yeah,
what's in the subconsciousness, and just to ask the question, what is really, blocking me from my potential?
yeah,
So it's really to see what is blocking me from my potential in loving myself, in my partnership or my relationship, in my business, my finances.
yeah.
What is in the way of that?
Amazing. Okay, so
Hmm.
uh, we did chat just before we came on, and we for those that wouldn't know, is that Damien's worked a lot with different tribes and stuff around the world, like massive warriors and different tribes to learn. What I didn't know is that you also went into things like taking from like boyhood through to manhood and stuff, and these different sort of initiations and rituals and stuff that they would go through. And I think I hadn't planned on talking about this, but I think actually it really sort of stuck with me. That I think there's a lot of beauty in there, and it's especially because I think like you said, some of these things have been like 1,000 years old or something of tradition that's kind of passed on. And I think I'm going to change the podcast to be a bit more about that actually, because it's really kind of pinged something in me that I think is going to be super interesting. So
Yeah.
I'm going to start with, or just kind of I know that you work a lot with women, but I know that you also work with men as well. And a little bit about this podcast is to talk about, to help men to become better versions of themselves. And then primarily for me, I'm really interested in helping sensitive children. And there's a lot of dads with sensitive children, and sometimes there's a disconnect of connection between them, or things that are affecting the father will affect their child, and then they don't really know how to kind of bridge those gaps. So some of the work that I want to do is kind of, it's around that sort of area. So I have a question about that, which is that, so what are some common, maybe energetic blocks, or sort of, I hesitate to call them issues, but areas that men can improve, which can face like an impact within their relationships, within like their family, or maybe their partner or their children. Is there something common that kind of comes up that you see within men, or?
Yeah. So it really, for example, if your father was not as supportive, emotionally supported, you didn't feel supported by him.
Mm,
You may, a lot of time, for example, as a child, I want dad to say I'm successful, you're good at what you did, or I got your back, or I
mm,
love you, or you've done well in school, just some recognition or acknowledgement. And then I've worked with like people who spent the whole life being super successful and they feel no appreciation for any of their success. And on the outside, it looks like, wow, these people are like probably famous, or they have the house, they have the car, they have the relationship, they have everything. And then I connect with them and they feel unworthy because they never got the blessing from the dad. So, for example, I work with some words to reset the subconsciousness, and that's the part of us that's like, it's like our inner child part. That's like, daddy, daddy, see me, feel me, hear me. It's like I am successful. So it's like if I don't have that blessing, and I'm waiting for the blessing, and I may never get that blessing. That is going to affect me, the way I live my life, and then the way I'm a father to my child as well. So this will really affect me, that I'm working from a wound in life to be successful for a wound which is maybe not even conscious. And a lot of time it's not conscious. And then I'll spend my entire life, being successful in the hamster wheel. And I've thrown my life away in a business or a job. Maybe I don't even love it because I'm waiting for my dad to say, you've done really well. I'm proud of you. Just those words. And that initiation is enough to set you free.
Yeah.
But, so what I do is I work with the subconscious fields and these inner child wounds to bring it in for in a way that we're not waiting for that blessing, that part of us is free of this burden of, trying to get that love from or approval from dad, and it may never happen. It may never happen in this life, or he's not capable because he doesn't have it to give you. He would have given it to you if it was in him to give you.
Yeah.
So he doesn't have it from his dad.
Yeah,
And we're
yeah.
waiting. No. So you could be in a relationship or in a friendship where someone's really giving you that type of love or support, and your system says, no, I don't want it from you. I want it from my dad. So this can affect us. And, for example, maybe I've come across many men, for example, who are, they're successful, but they're limiting themselves because they don't want to be more successful from dad because he may not love me anymore.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, or else I'm in a job, but I really, I'm maybe an accountant, but I don't want to be an accountant. I want to be an artist, but I'm an accountant because my dad wanted me to be accountant.
Interesting. Yeah.
So this will block me from being who I am. Or in the ancestral line, say we're all accountants and there's been no artists. So the system will block it, and I will never let that part live that part. So I remember when I was growing up, even if I was talking about an artist, it was like, what are you talking about? They don't make money. That's not going to put food on the table, with scarcity. So it's like my artistic part would be shut down because like, no, you have to be in business. You have to do this, So all these patterns are, if we're not aware of them, they can ruin our lives, and also there could be an ancestor back there or a dad who says women they're only good for children, or men are only good for children, so that will affect us. Or my dad was an alcoholic, so maybe there's alcohol in the system, so that can be good in a way that I can switch it into, well, I know how to be a good dad now, so I can switch it. The danger comes in epigenetics. This is where there's a lot of traits from the family, For example, my own father didn't drink because he saw his father drink.
Yeah.
Okay? Yeah, but I didn't know my grandfather drank. So how would I, so I would even have it in my blood to drink, but my father never drank.
Yeah.
So I would know that trait jumped over my father from my grandfather into me. But so it's usually the following generation that will have these epigenetic imprints that I don't know, what, I didn't know there was an alcoholic there. So now I'm an alcoholic. So, but with the awareness, and it's interesting, that's where I start really getting a lot of information working with the tribes. I work with a lot. I live in Kenya as well. So I've been working with different tribes there. And the tribes are very wise in a way that they will always pass on, like the parents' job, the mother's job would be pass on to the children all the information about the characters
Mm.
from the ancestors.
Interesting.
Maybe it was someone short-tempered.
Mm.
Maybe there was someone who stole something.
Mm.
Maybe it was someone who was violent.
Mm.
So then, if you see your child being violent or short-tempered, you know where it's from.
Mm.
So this is something I was like, oh, I wish I had that information. I didn't have it because I'm Irish, so there's a lot of secrets back there,
Yeah.
and we didn't talk about emotions and we didn't show emotions. So I was like, I was like, when they start talking to me, I was like, oh, I wish I had this, experience.
Yeah.
So then I was very fortunate. The Pacific tribe that I'm working with, they did a ritual with me of something that really changed my life. And then I start doing that for other people.
Uh,
So they start sharing with me very ancient information going back a few thousand years that's been passed on through the tribe.
mm.
And that's a ritual that they do for all children when they're born.
Mm.
And what they do is they have, for example, when a child is born, they would present, there'd be a midwife,
Mm-hmm.
and that midwife would then say there's a boy born, would basically take the umbilical cord, the placenta, after making sure the blood is completely in the boy,
Yeah.
and then take the placenta umbilical cord to the forest, into, say, a mother tree or a tree which is calling her, and open the soil up and do this initiation of saying, Mother Earth, will you accept this boy as one of you, or girl as one of your own? This is your child.
Yeah.
So will you support this child to live and to be nourished by your land?
Mm.
And teach this child how to nourish oneself, how to protect oneself, how to connect to the intelligence of Mother Earth.
Mm.
And then she would do a ritual of connecting the child to, the roots, and then say to the ancestors, can you register this newborn in the family system as one of your own? And then give him or her all the information she needs or he needs to survive.
Mm.
So when they did this with me, now they did it in a way that we did it as an adult,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I didn't have I was saying, well, how can I have that? So they did it for me. And I realized that suddenly I woke up the next day, and I'm Irish, but I've lived all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
I've lived in Ireland in over 30 years. And so I woke up the next day feeling really proud to be Irish for
Mm.
the first time in my life. And this was not something that came from my mind. It was something that came from inside.
Mm.
And I started to feel this deep connection with my land. So it was like a reconnection with my land and the power of my land.
Mm.
And started to change my self-confidence,
Interesting.
and started to change. It's almost like I started to feel like I had something behind me for the first time in my life that was supporting me.
Yeah. Mm.
And I didn't feel alone, but it was something that was not, something that I didn't have to think about. It was just inner feeling.
Mm.
And that changed my life. And within the ritual, what they do is will put the child on the mother and say, anything you taught negative about being pregnant or being a mom or being married to this man or trapped with this man, please take this off the child.
Mm.
And they would do the same with the father. So they did this for me, and I really could feel that I was more clear, more grounded, more connected with Mother Earth, more connected in a very deep way that actually changed my life. And then later I started to live in a forest when I was in Kenya, and I start realizing that the forest was communicating with me. What I mean, also the animal kingdom. So I started to realize that they had initiated me into the nature intelligence, into the almost like the intelligence of the animal kingdom as well. So I realized that the animals were coming to me even when I was doing sessions or going out. The different calabash monkeys would come to me, for example, or an eagle would come to me, and they would start supporting me. So I started realizing that everywhere I went, that I had a deeper connection with nature and also the animals as well. And I realized it was from this specific ritual that they had done for me. And then I started to do it for others then, and to hold this space for people to go through the same ritual initiation I went through.
And what
And this opened. Go
sorry,
ahead.
what name was that tribe? That particular tribe?
The Lua tribe. So I'm working with elders who basically in Kakamega Forest. It's a
Okay.
Pacific region. It's a very medicinal
Okay.
forest. And what happened was I have a house in Lamo. I live in Lamo on an island, an ancient island, and it's a Muslim community.
Okay.
And then I got guided to employ somebody who I felt there was something in him. And it turned out that his grandmother was the one who was the main midwife of the specific region, this forest in Kakamega
Hmm.
Forest. And his ancestors were the ancestors who had this
Hmm.
knowledge. And I reconnected him back with his own lineage
Hmm.
because he also had a separation from his family. So I reconnected him with the lineage. And over the years, he started to get reconnected, but then I started to get reconnected as well because his grandmother, who's in the spirit world, had told me, says, I will pass knowledge to you as well when you bring him back to my tribe. I didn't do it for this reason, but
Hmm.
it happened very organically.
Hmm.
And they started to awaken information within me,
Hmm.
and also their information started to I opened my system to these elders,
Hmm.
and they started to work on me. And I had a lot of topics in my childhood with my father, for example,
Hmm.
and my ancestors, which had me very insecure,
Hmm.
had me very, very feeling unsafe in the body, feeling unsafe as a man.
Hmm.
And when they start working with me, I started to feel my masculinity balancing
Hmm.
and also divine, feminine masculine balancing within me,
Hmm.
and feeling much more safe in life and more empowered in a very natural way. So then I started to work with the tribe, and they started talking about different initiations from boy to man.
Yeah.
And they started to awaken this information within me and share it with me.
Ah,
So this is what I'm working with the Lua tribe,
okay.
and they are originally from the Congo, and the knowledge is going on for a few thousand
Huh.
years. And they passed it, so they reconnected me. The work we've been doing together, they sort of initiated me into their tribe and started sharing this ancient knowledge with
Huh.
me. So I think I'm one of the first actually who was accepted with this. They
Huh.
should start sharing this wisdom with,
Hmm.
and we're working as a team together.
Hmm.
So what was very interesting with the specific tribe was that during, for example, colonialism in Kenya, um, and they went into the forest. The ones I'm working with, they're 80, it's 80, 85. There's five of them.
Hmm.
And they went into the forest. Half of them went into the forest, the community, and half went outside and experienced colonialism.
Hmm.
And after colonialism, they had the awareness saying, if we don't clear colonialism wounds from my system and my
Hmm.
people, we will become the same.
Hmm.
So they started to clear it from the system, from their own people
Hmm.
and their own cross-tribal disputes
Hmm.
and slavery or selling their own
Hmm.
and corruption and land grabs. So they start working with the system. So they started to teach me how to do that work
Hmm.
and sharing this knowledge with me. And I already was working with genetic work for 27 years, but it brought another level of it in. And also with this intelligence of connecting to the roots of the forest brought another impact into the work, which I was really astonished by.
Hmm.
So I also work with the tribes there, but I'm also been living, I go a lot to ancient sites, and I also live in Greece as well,
Hmm.
and been guided to go to different archetypes like Alexander the Great
Hmm.
to open up the more the male energy, and then, different feminine warriors as well. So because for the masculine,
Hmm.
you need to have a strong feminine.
Hmm.
For the feminine, you need to have a strong masculine balance.
Hmm.
So I start working with ancient information, which I was guided to when I was living in Greece, to go to Pacific temples to allow my system to go into a being state with Pacific archetypes of very strong masculine men
Hmm.
and very strong women as
Hmm.
well, who were holding space for the divine feminine, divine masculine to come into coherence again
Hmm.
and start trusting each other again. So for me, the initiation started, with the masculine, feminine started off really for me in Greece
Hmm.
and working with ancient knowledge.
Hmm.
And then it further went on to working with the tribes
Okay.
and then around the world with different communities.
Hmm. So if you like super interesting actually. So I have so many questions, but I'm going to start with one. So you've seen specifically. I know that you've also been with Masai tribes as well. Is that correct? Now, do you?
Hmm.
Now, I mean, they're sort of located, obviously, different geographic locations. Do you see like patterns or similarities between how they do things, even though they're like different tribes, different places and spaces? But is there some sort of like similar themes that you see come up between them? That, yeah, I guess.
So, yeah, it's interesting. The Maasai tribe was interesting. I had a Maasai. Uh, yeah, it was interesting. I put as I say, I live in Lamu, and I put it. I started to work really with, I was restoring a very ancient house. It was one of the old sultan's palaces, so I was restoring that, and I had different tribes working for me, and I was managing them. But I could feel the information in the system,
Mm,
and I could feel like also I got connected with the Maasai in the community as well, and I felt like, wow, I could feel the knowledge they have and the information they have about, whoa, they're very strong, masculine men,
mm,
and they're very powerful men,
mm,
but in a very intuitive way,
mm,
the very almost like feminine but not feminine
mm,
way. It was very empathic, and I was like, wow, there's such power in these men. So I was like, I sort of put a wish to the universe, I'd love to pick up some of the knowledge
mm,
from the Maasai tribe. And then it was interesting, a Maasai uh, had walked from the forest. He lives in the forest and he lives beside a mother tree. And he came for 8 days walking, and he says, I came, the calling, I felt your calling. And he came to the house, and I was like, wow, I can't believe you came. I put a wish 8 days ago. He says, I know, I got it, I'm here.
mm,
So he came, and we connected, and he started doing this ritual with stones and different in a basket. And he started to, I don't know, I felt safe with him.
mm,
And also Washington, who also was from the Lua tribe, who was talking about, he was there. And we sat together, and I felt really safe. He had this very strong masculine energy, but very, I don't know, there was something very safe with him.
mm,
And he sat with me, and we sat together, and then he started to, I didn't know what he was doing. I felt from the inside I trust him, but still my mind was like, what's going on?
mm,
But he started to do this ritual with me, and it was like he started to open up these leaves,
mm,
and in these leaves were ash, and he had some bark and some barks made into a wristband,
mm,
and he started to do this initiation with me. He says, your spirit called me. And I says, I know, I wanted to connect to the forest, and your soul, the information you have, I feel it's so wise. So he started to open up this package he had, and it had the leaves with the ash.
mm.
And then he starts to do this ritual with me of connecting me to the soul of each of these medicinal trees.
Oh.
So yeah, so he had the mother tree. In every
Mm,
forest, there's a mother tree, and this is the tallest, wisest tree.
okay.
And the tribes believe, and most indigenous tribes know this information.
Mm,
So this mother tree is the one which has the knowledge. It's almost like the brain, the
okay.
consciousness of the whole forest.
Mm,
So he started to connect me with her by putting the bark on me, and then he had the ash that he burned, which connects the soul information,
mm,
and then he got me to put it on my
mm,
tongue and ingest it.
okay.
And I started to do this over the next few days, and it was interesting. He did this with a few different trees he had,
Mm,
and I started to feel like something was happening within me,
mm,
and I felt this deep, deep connection. And while he was doing this, he turned to Washington. He says, "You know this in your tribe. You do the same. You have the knowledge." And then Washington confessed, yes, I know this knowledge. My grandma taught me
mm,
this as a child.
mm,
So that was the initiation I had, but also the initiation that Washington opened his information, who we were working together with.
mm,
And there was more medicinal. So the Maasai tribe really I felt a very strong masculine power coming into my system,
mm,
because they have this ritual that they go, and the lions are even afraid of them, that they could kill a lion with their bare hands, type of
mm,
thing. So this is really, and you can feel it,
mm,
so you feel very safe.
mm,
So there's a feeling of safety and trust.
mm,
And any of the Maasai I got to know, I felt very safe. They have a presence of safety,
mm,
and also very childlike.
mm,
And I could feel it was affecting me and doing something within my inner part.
mm,
And then when I then connected with Washington's tribe then as well, they did the same thing in a different way. So the tribes had a similar information,
mm,
but a different
okay.
practice. And I realized that when I start connecting to the different tribes, for example, in America as well.
Hmm.
So they have similar practices, but in different
It's
ways.
like a different process.
And different
Okay.
process, yeah, exactly. And it affects you slightly different.
Okay.
And every tribe or sub-tribe have their own way.
Mm. So a lot of it's
So
connected to nature, though. Like it.
it's it's all connected. Yeah, it's
So
all
would
connected to
that be the
nature.
same
Yeah.
with women as well, or is it men specifically that they do more towards nature, or is it kind of it's the same for both? Or
It's women as well.
okay,
So what I work with as well. So I started to connect with the elders of
okay,
the community, the men, but also I started to connect with the midwives.
okay,
So this is sharing the information. So this is another information I want to open up as well in the workshops,
hmm,
and I started to do it already because in our lineage, all our lineage, if you go back a thousand years or more, there's an information where the midwives were the women who basically took care of the tribe, took care of us,
uh,
our ancestors and the village and the community, and they were the ones with the knowledge of the herbs,
hmm,
of the healing abilities and of birth, and then also there was if you go back further, we're going to find also where the elders were, where the wise ones were,
hmm,
the leaders of the community.
hmm,
And what I noticed with working with the masculine, especially, you know, if you are, for example, I'm Irish. So in the Irish system, if I go back generational, before St. Patrick, for example, there's a similar information as what I find in Kenya,
hmm,
for example,
okay,
because if you go back in England too, you'll go back to a point where the elders, the old, their ancestors had a very deep connection with the land,
hmm,
a very deep connection with the wisdom. Almost like I know when I was growing up, and I sometimes would go to my cousins on a farm, like the next day there's going to be a storm tomorrow.
hmm, hmm,
There's something coming tomorrow. I can feel the weather's going to change.
hmm,
So it's this natural wisdom
hmm,
that is within our ancestral information,
hmm,
and which is in the masculine
hmm,
very much. They had this knowledge, but we disconnected through trauma from our emotions, or
hmm,
we had to be tough and don't show emotions.
hmm. So
So
that's
as
that's
I
kind of where
connect,
that guidance is comes through. I guess it feels more like an emotional sort of thing as opposed to like a thought um or a
it's
yeah.
yeah, it's something very special, and it's something very tangible
Mm,
when you get connected to it. And it's interesting when if I'm sleeping in a tent in a park, for example, in Kenya,
hmm,
even though there's lions around, there's like hippos, or this, it's dangerous to sleep out, so to speak,
mm,
but you can feel it's safe, but you
mm,
can feel when it's not safe,
mm,
because the field is intelligent,
mm,
and you're connected to that field, and it will tell you when it's not safe.
mm, yeah.
So, and yeah, so the animals can pick up. It's like the animals know if there's going to be a tsunami, they start moving immediately upland, or an earthquake or something. They know.
Mm.
So, but this is the same knowing that we had, or we have,
Hmm.
and we've got disconnected because of trauma.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I'll bring it very much into the regular kind of world, I guess, to the perspective. At work, at times I'll speak with the guys and stuff. So someone brought in, they had I don't know, the iPhone watch, whatever it's called, Apple Watch. So someone had it broken, so he hadn't had a watch on for a few days, and so he didn't have a watch. And he's normally was like, I guess, very very observant of the time and different stuff and what have you. But he said, I haven't had a watch on, but I've still been waking up at the right times, and I kind of tend to know when my meetings are, and it's we weren't obviously within a group talking about sort of energetics and how it was, but you could tell he was just sort of saying that, I kind of just sort of know, or just your body's just aware of it, whatever it is, their explanation. It's like they had an awareness of, he didn't just like just because he didn't have a watch on, he wasn't stuck in the world and was late for everything. And then yeah, there was that. Then there was something else they were talking about, and then the other guy as well. There's another guy at work I work with quite a bit, and he's done a lot of sort of competition fighting over the years. And he says, there's just rooms I'll go into sometimes, and I know that, like, usually if he's traveling around somewhere and he's like, oh, this isn't a room I should be in, because he's got this feeling of that energetics of, something's going to kick off quite soon, or there's some sort of fight or something going on. And within a group, maybe they're not talking about it as energetics, but they're just, this awareness is definitely in us, even when we're kind of entrenched in technology. it's still in there, and we don't maybe
It
think
is.
of it as a sense as such, but it is definitely a sense that's there within even people that are very sort of entrenched in sort of technology and stuff. It's still there.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I found a big shift for me is like as you were saying, your friend. Like I remember when I started doing kickboxing, it's almost like I got a deeper sense that I can protect myself, and that changed my intuition again. It's like once I could bring that information to my system, I was showing up different in the world. So that's also I spent some time. I also have Japanese lineage, so my ex-wife, I got initiated into a samurai family, and then her father initiated me with the samurai swords. But I noticed that that changed my system completely to be connected to the lineage of samurai. I felt suddenly there was a connection of safety coming into my system like I never felt before. And when I was in Japan, like they have initiations for men and for women as well. So I could feel that was another initiation I went through. So this made my system more aware of the sensory system of the field around me. And this is how I work with leaders, for example, or men in business, for example, that they get more connected to who they are and this sense of showing up in pure presence. Because if I'm in a meeting, for example, um, I'm feeling I have this activated within me, my safety. Now I'm connected to my inner antenna, my inner knowing, my compass. And I can read the field now. So I can get myself out of very dangerous situations, very aligned because I'm in my inner core. And from the inner core, your spirit can start telling you and guiding you. So I work a lot with war fields and very dangerous situations as well. And when I'm working with them, I bring them to this state to awaken this power within them before they go into those fields to make sure they feel safe in the body. And if you feel safe in the body, then you're aligned and you're not reactive because of fear, anxiety, or trauma in the system. You're operating from almost like a samurai. You have this, you're reading the field and you're connected, and you're not wasting energy or fighting in the system where it's not needed. You can feel it and you have the safety within you. And everything is the law of free vibration.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
For me, I realized that, you will attract like with like. So if you got a trauma, like a lot of business leaders I work with, I tell them, we need to look into your lineage. We need to look into your childhood because you're bringing that into your business. And if you got an abusive father back there or someone in the system, you're going to have abuse in your business.
Interesting.
You're, yeah. So you bring that to your business. And if you're the boss, you're going to bring it into the whole company. If there's mistrust back there, you're going to bring mistrust to your whole company.
Yeah.
If there's theft back there, you're going to bring theft into your system. So if there's rape back there or sexual abuse, now that's in the system, and it will play out in it could be the taxman raping you. It doesn't mean rape. It
It can
comes
be
up in very
metaphorical.
subtle levels. Absolutely, yeah,
Interesting.
and it will affect you.
Huh.
It will affect you. So this is for me the awareness I feel that people are realizing in business that they need. That awareness is very, very special and very important. That there's a deeper awareness in a lot of men that I work with, that they realize, whoa, I am taking my baggage into my business
Interesting.
and it's affecting my business. So it's not so much that, I work a lot with different teams in business, for example, and the first I want to work with is the boss, because the boss is bringing the information into the system, and everything will play out, which is in the genetics of the family. So we will bring our baggage to our relationship, for example, or to our children, because now maybe I don't want to be like my dad, but it's in my blood. And if I'm not aware of what I don't want to take from my dad and filter it out of my system, I will bring this into my son or my daughter, and it will pass on generational. So the work for me is very important, is to be aware of the traits of my father and my grandparents
Mm-hmm.
and my mother and all the way back to the lineage and myself.
Mm-hmm.
And the more I'm aware of them, the more I can change my behavior patterns and change the type of relationship I have with myself and my partner and my children.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah,
mm,
I was going to say, I know you've worked with a lot of successful people and stuff, and I know you've been doing it for quite a while. And generally, this type of business, a lot of it tends to be word of mouth. So, obviously, that usually happens because there's successes there. So, although I don't want you to really sort of pinpoint anyone in specifically, is there any things like that you sort of like maybe somebody, preferably if they're a man, that you worked with maybe to start out with, that there was sort of, I mean, I guess it's anecdotal to a degree, but that they noticed sort of shifts and changes within how their business ran, or how things were working after that type of work. Like, do you have one that sort of sticks
yes.
out to you?
Oh, I've got many popping up immediately in my system. But yeah, it's like I yeah, usually there's a lot of this, this money going missing in the company, or
Interesting.
deals are not working out, or
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand why my sales aren't working,
Mm-hmm.
or I feel like I'm offering a very good, product,
Mm-hmm.
it's not selling, or it's just there's something blocking me,
Mm-hmm.
and then suddenly you clear that, and then suddenly the sales work, or people start respecting the boss,
Mm-hmm.
or they're listening, So it, I've got multiple, it's also why, why are you in the business? If it's coming from the mother father ones that I was talking about,
Mm-hmm.
it will really affect your business,
Mm-hmm.
really affect your business.
Mm-hmm.
And it will really affect what happens with your clients as well, and also the relationship within the business with you and your family as well, but also the staff or your clients. So I would notice that generally what people notice is that they first of all feel more secure within themselves,
Mm-hmm.
and anything which is distorted within the business will show up in the system immediately. That they will feel more secure, more safe,
Mm-hmm.
more aligned. They feel also, they feel like they're in tune to, through their knowing, like they're very more intuitive, not shaken so much,
Mm-hmm.
and they can feel, okay, this is the right move in the business.
Mm-hmm.
This is the right strategic move. So they're getting more less wasteful with their time.
Yeah, maybe less second guessing and stuff, maybe as well, like less sort of throwing
Yeah.
darts and see where they go kind of thing. Or
Yeah. So it's, and also their health improves, but it's not just in the business, it's in their relationship
yeah,
and success. When I say success, it's success in love with yourself and your health
yeah,
and your relationship and your family,
yeah.
and then the business.
Interesting.
For me, it's never,
Yeah, it's super. I'm just, my mind's going on all sorts of different stuff here. So obviously, I recognize. I look around and recognize lots of stuff in different, and myself as well. I have to look in the mirror quite often to see repeated patterns and stuff, and constantly trying to change that stuff. So, for somebody that doesn't like, and I'm going to say again here for men, I think sometimes women can be more attuned to this, and that for men sometimes it's a bit more of a struggle. But how for somebody that's just sort of starting out, what is there ways that you kind of, that men can begin to kind of recognize and shift these sort of patterns? Like, what are good ways for people to recognize patterns in themselves that maybe have been repeating, that they kind of feel like they're on a merry-go-round or they're stuck? Is there yeah, what would you sort of comment on that?
so I used to like, I realized that my family are the best because they're going to show what's in me,
Oh, okay.
and it's very important. So I used to like do my homework every time I go back. So I would be taking my lists, and if I see something in a behavior pattern in my father, I would write it down. If I found something in my brother, I would write it down. Any siblings. If I found something in an uncle, I would write it down. And the first thing I would do, I'd say, okay, Damien, where's it in you? Where is it in you? Is it in you? Is it in your relationship? Is it in your business? Where is this in you? Where is this in you? There could be dishonesty there. And then I'm super honest, but stupidly honest. So it's like, because I'm coming from a wound, I don't want to be like that, but
Yeah,
I'm like that.
yeah.
Do you understand?
Yeah. Oh,
So
honestly, I've
I
got so many of those things that I've sort of passed through. But
okay.
yeah.
So yeah, so it's like I have this internal dialogue with myself and I'm observing myself say, okay, okay, I see this pattern in my dad that I don't like.
Mm,
Okay? Or maybe I like. What is that in me?
mm,
How is that in me?
mm,
Where is it in me?
mm,
And be really brutally honest with yourself. Say, am I like that in my relationship? Am I like
mm,
that with my friendships? And really go vulnerable with yourself and reflect and say, oh, wow, wow. You know, like I often hear my brother saying, oh, I don't want to be like my dad. And I say, but you are like him. You know, it's like, are you aware? So it's like, so, and the same goes for myself, you know? So it's like, you don't even realize it. You think you're behaving differently, but actually, when you drop and be honest with yourself, you've got similar patterns in a different way,
mm,
maybe a modern way.
mm,
So I would say get to know all the characters within your family
mm,
system as much as
mm,
possible. And then first do an exercise of saying, where's that in me?
mm,
Is that in me?
mm,
Where is it in me?
mm,
Do I have that pattern? Am I like that with my wife, with my partner?
mm,
Am I like that with my son, with my daughter?
mm,
You know, am I putting extra pressure on them in school?
mm,
Am I strict? Am I, am I directing them in, I want you to do this job, but maybe my kids don't want to do that.
mm,
Where is that coming from?
mm,
You know, um, do I have a fear of, scarcity?
mm,
So I'm driving them on a road to be a perfectionist, for example.
mm,
So like, what is in me?
mm,
It's interesting. I'm doing a webinar over the weekend, and it's about ancestral traits, but it's like
mm,
I'm working with the disconnects, for example, in the war. That's very strong. A lot of I lived in Germany for a while as well, and worked around the German region in Austria and Switzerland,
mm,
and a lot of German women were very strong
mm,
because what happened during the war was the men went to war
mm,
and gave the place to the women, saying, now you have to take care of the farm, you have to take care of the
mm,
kids, you have to take my role.
mm,
Now, a lot of the time, the men didn't come back,
mm,
or if they did came back, they were traumatized.
mm,
So now the women have more masculine than feminine.
mm,
And now they marry weak men, so to speak.
mm.
That the women are more men than men.
Yeah.
Okay. I recently worked with some people as well, and I realized there was a group of women. I was like, whoa, these women are more masculine than the men
Mm,
because they consider men weak if they show emotions. So
mm,
they lose the respect of men for showing the emotions, but that was from their childhood.
mm. Interesting.
So it's about the feminine and masculine within us.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I mean, obviously, everybody has a bit of both. I mean, I single dad, so like when my daughter's with me, I definitely I'm a hell of a lot softer when I'm just with her. Like it's I don't have to try; it just naturally sort of comes out with her. But it
Beautiful.
has to shift at times as well. Like if we're out in London or something, that it changes a lot more. It's more of it feels like more of a protective energy and stuff like that. So it's interesting that you can kind of flip between those two. But I think for a lot of men, they've been told that that's not okay to do that, and I think
Yeah.
that's really stifling um, and challenging. I think as well because you can't avoid these parts of ourselves. So if you kind of whatever you try and suppress, it tends to kind of come out. And yeah, so it's just interesting to kind of you witness all this in yourself, and then obviously in other people as well. So it's yeah, it's an interesting thing to be
Well,
aware of.
what I just like to share something that I think is because there's a lot of single dads, single
Mm,
moms out there, and for me, the most important thing, and I've seen it a lot, is, for example, if there's a divorce or separation,
mm,
the most traumatic thing for the children is the mother maybe takes the father's place away from the father,
mm,
or the father takes the mother's place, and now the children are losing the connection with the father
mm,
or the mother.
mm,
Now, if they lose that, then, or they give it to their new partner, say the mother gives it to a new partner, now the father has no genetic place now to this daughter, for
mm.
example, or the son. So with the daughter, the only place would be open is relationship place.
Yes.
And that's very dangerous,
Yeah.
very dangerous. And that's where a lot of problems come in.
Mm,
So usually when I work with divorce or separation, I'll say to the couple before the parents, say, please tell your children, tell them as well as energetically,
Mm.
but let them know that daddy's always going to be daddy
Mm.
and I'm always going to be mommy,
Mm.
you know? And even if there's a new mommy or daddy in the system, they'd
Mm.
be like mommy or daddy, but they're not your biological mom and dad.
Mm.
Your dad's always your dad,
Mm.
your mom's always your mom. And now the kids will feel safe.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I do bring that up quite often, actually. Right from day one, it was just sort of intuitively, I think, as well. That it was
Yeah, it's
to
great.
keep saying that. Actually,
It's
I think it came
great
from
you did
I think
that.
it came from a place of fear, actually. But either way, it worked, I think. So
But
yeah,
it's
yeah.
it's true. It's really important because a lot of people, Simon, are missing this basic information,
Mm.
and they don't realize. And what happens is the women will be on their own now, but they've taken the genetic place from the father, and now they feel overwhelmed.
Mm.
And now they feel revenge against the man
Mm.
because I'm overwhelmed.
Mm.
I'm doing everything for the kids,
Mm.
and he's doing nothing. So
Yeah.
now she's in revenge, and now there's a very difficult divorce dispute going on.
Mm. Interesting.
She doesn't realize she's taken the father place.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
And can I share one more
Yeah, yeah.
thing?
Go
There's
for
one
it.
more
Go
thing
for
I
it. Yeah,
think
yeah.
just because I see this a lot. It depends on different. I worked a lot in Turkey, for
Okay.
example, and different regions of this area. And a lot of, Muslim communities, for example, where um, there's arranged marriages, or
Mm.
Indian community where it's arranged marriage, okay?
Mm.
So a lot of women, they're married to a man that they wouldn't have chosen themselves,
Mm.
all right? But they're children
Yeah.
themselves. So what happens is it's almost like intimacy in the first intimacy is like a rape in the system.
Mm.
So they don't feel safe with the masculine.
Mm.
But then they become pregnant and they have their first son.
Mm.
So the first son becomes their partner. And what I noticed when working in these regions was
Mm.
that then the the boys are connected to the mother, not the wife. And
Okay.
now you have a mother-in-law topic in the system.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And the boys behave like boys. They never grow into men
Mm.
because they're connected to the mother, not, because the mother never connected with the father and let the son be the son.
Interesting.
She never let him go.
Mm.
So basically now she's going to, now the new wife will be like an affair in the system, and now you've got a mother-in-law topic.
Interesting. And then I guess so. Well, I mean, what immediately came to my head now is about the sort of the tribes that you went to. I'm assuming that they don't have as much of that sort of situation.
They're very aware. It depends on the tribe. That's why I'm
Okay.
also very careful with which tribes I work with and
Interesting.
which elders I'm working with because I want to make sure that they've worked on their systems, especially with colonialism as well.
Yeah,
I'm the
yeah,
white guy, so I don't want to play that out.
yeah. Interesting.
So, yes, it depends. The ones who haven't cleaned their systems, I do know there's a lot of distortion in the system
Okay.
because when you get a wound like that, then corruption comes in,
Uh,
land grabs come back, and now it's my turn to get my money back or my land back.
okay.
So now you've got corruption in the system.
Okay.
So these family disputes, yes, a lot of the elders I work with, they would go to the community
Mm.
and check, the unmarried mothers,
Mm.
or if there's marital disputes, they would sit with them and help them go through it
Mm.
and see what's going on.
Mm.
So the community would support. So you have this community very much active, that the men will support the men and the women support the women.
Mm.
So there's this community leaders in the system,
Mm.
which, in the older generations was there. You had a very strong community,
Yeah.
and the community would support, problems in the
Mm.
family or sit down with the couple. So, that part is still very active in a lot of the
Mm.
tribes. And I know in Ireland there used to be a very strong community, and I'm sure in England as well, the very community, back there, that where the neighbors would stick with each other
Yeah,
and
yeah.
support each other,
It's kind of gone the
you
other
know?
extreme, I think, at the minute. But I
Yeah.
am. I mean, I work mostly around men at the minute, and I know there's a few in there that are going to men's groups and stuff. And there's definitely it's they're not the people I would normally expect to go to men's groups anyway. Like I was like very much in the spiritual stuff for a while, like, and there were very different types of men's groups, but these are just like general family men and stuff, and they're starting to find this sort of a bit more of an element of brotherhood, and they
Yeah.
talk about it a bit, and I can sort of not because I'm an expert, but obviously I can just hear the conversations, and I can see some of the stumbling blocks that they have within those groups and stuff. But there's so many dynamics going in there, that they sort of just, normally they tell them anecdotally as jokes. Usually it's like, they're making fun of each other and stuff. But it's interesting that how many are being drawn to that. I think from a place of feeling a bit lost, actually. And I
Yeah,
think
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
think a lot of men at one time would have always run towards women, any women. Oh, I need a woman that can help me, sort of thing. And I'm sure they can. It's not to say that women can't, but there's something really that I wasn't aware of until probably a year or so ago, of the power of sort of men and brotherhood together, how that can be really impactful in a very positive way. It can be negative as well, but from what I'm seeing, it's actually very positive.
Yeah, I've experienced that myself when working with the elders,
Mm,
because it's all men I'm working with in the specific. There's women as well, but the men, and I felt this brotherhood connection waking
mm,
up inside me, and I felt very safe. And anything going on in my life, I tell them everything, and they're sitting with me, and
mm,
they listen, and then they give me support, and
mm,
they ask me to check this, or they support me. So it opens something a bond
mm,
of brotherhood, which is very strong.
mm,
And when you think about it, in our ancestral line, if you go back far enough, there was always this brotherhood connection.
mm,
Do you mean? And sisterhood, So this is very community. Like I lived in Greece as well, lived in Mykonos as well, and Ikaria, for example, which is a green zone.
mm,
And that is, why do people survive longer? Because they have community.
mm.
They have brotherhood. They have community. They're there for each other.
Yeah, that's something I noticed in Costa Rica as well. Like they have I don't know what they call it, blue zone or something around there, and
Or the blue zones, yes,
yeah,
yeah,
and
yeah. Not
they were
great.
talking about the longevity of life there, and I could notice that they're generally more chilled out. Like they definitely have a more relaxed
Yeah,
lifestyle, but it's so prevalent, this feeling of community and togetherness. It
yeah.
gets ruined a bit by Westerners, unfortunately, coming in and sort of bringing their sort of mentality in, and I don't think they're doing it on purpose to try and ruin things, but it gets a little bit more separated, I think. But you can tell within themselves, their communities, there's this connectedness of like helping each other, and there's also conflict within that as well that I noticed. But there's definitely this. It's totally different from my experience of living in, whether it was Canada or the UK, of this sort of real sort of togetherness and um, just being there. I think just being there for them, not necessarily doing anything, but just being around each other and being there for each other seems to have such a highly positive effect.
Yeah, it's interesting. I work a lot with communities in Costa Rica and different parts of the world where they set up these
Okay.
new
Yeah.
communities and the conscious
Yeah.
communities,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's amazing what happens in them.
Interesting.
They bring their topics which they ran away for into the community because they haven't worked on their roots.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So they recreate the conflicts, and they have this great intention to love each other and grow food and vegetables, and we're in the nature,
Yeah.
and then they're killing each other.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, of course you didn't work on your roots, you need to work on your roots. You need to look back.
Yeah.
So for me, with all community living, I work a lot for many, many years with communities, living places where people set up a new community, a new
Yeah.
paradigm of a new type of community. And I always see the same stuff playing out, playing out.
Yeah.
They haven't worked on the roots.
Yeah.
Unless you work with your roots, you're going to play it all out in the new community.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. I
It's,
so agree with you on that. I mean, you see it with people with
yeah,
dating as well. That they can constantly attracting the same sort of people. I'm sure I've done it too. We attract similar sort of traits, and generally, like you say, it's parts of yourself that maybe you haven't healed, or um, yeah, it's relationship seems to be one of the easiest and hardest ways to find out what is sort of out of sync in yourself,
absolutely.
because people
Yeah,
mirror stuff back, and children do too as well a lot. I mean, children are an incredible mirror of what's going on inside
absolutely.
yourself.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And also, for example, with the dating apps, it's there for me, it's very damaging in the system because it's an app with an intelligence like AI intelligence, and then
Interesting.
blocking or swipe, 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 swipe,
Yeah,
swipe.
yeah,
But there's a being there, a soul there with emotions and feelings
yeah.
and connections.
Mm,
And then if you if you use it in an extraction way, it becomes extraction and disconnects. You think it's a connection that you're going
Mm,
into, but it's more about consumer.
yeah.
So there's people think are getting more connection, but they're actually getting disconnected.
Yeah.
And it's a lot. I'm noticing that more and more that people are getting more disconnected from themselves
Interesting. Yeah.
through these apps, and it's abusing themselves.
Yeah, I can see it that way. I never really was much into sort of Facebook. I have an account, but I barely use it. But I noticed that a lot as well there, that you can scroll and you can think that you're so entwined in people's lives because you see like photos of all the stuff that's going on, but you may not have spoken to that person forever, and you don't really know how they're feeling, and photos don't really generally show what is really going on
At
inside
all.
people, and yeah, and I think maybe it's sometimes stuff has to get so far apart that then it starts attracting back in again, and
Yeah.
that's why people are intuitively just wanting to be in, men's groups or women's groups or, yes, it's very interesting that how that's sort of playing out.
I know. And also, if you imagine, for example, if you were, going back, say, 100 years even, or 80 years or more, it's like you would have had so much connection with like nature. Your rhythm would be much slower.
Hmm.
Do you mean?
Yes.
But now you're getting social media bombarding you with a lot of
Yeah.
information and disconnection, information and disconnection.
Yeah.
So what I noticed was, and it's interesting, I was taught to do the opposite. I was taught to go to be it and then get the information. So if I read something, for example,
Okay.
I will wait for it to land in my system.
Okay.
But now with AI, it's giving all the information to the mind and feeding the mind,
Mm.
especially on spirituality or how a man should be, how a woman should be. But you're feeding the mind.
Yeah.
It's a
It's not in
disconnection.
your body.
You're not embodying it.
Uh,
So I notice more and more in the spiritual scene that they're getting more disconnected from
in
themselves, not reconnected.
but it has the illusion that you are getting so much more because you're consuming so
Ah,
much information.
you'll speak the talk, you'll look like you walk the walk,
Yeah.
but it's for me it's shadow in the system because they haven't integrated, you haven't done your shadow work, you haven't gone deep enough into the roots.
Yeah.
And this is a danger at the moment that we know what to do. The mind is getting very educated
Yeah.
and very sophisticated,
Yes.
and it gets sophisticated on how not to change or how to trick yourself that you think you're changing,
Yeah.
but you're not really changing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like
It's very,
another form of illusion, like a holographic almost in the way I
yeah,
want to say it.
yeah,
It's interesting what you say about the body as well. Is that my daughter was in a Waldorf school in Costa Rica for a bit, and when they did maths there, they would juggle balls, so they would like throw balls to each other while they were doing the maths. One, it's really good with the boys and
beautiful.
stuff because there was a lot of boys, so they're quite boisterous. So they need to move quite a bit. But they talked about the theory of that if you want to learn something, you can like read, and try and cram it into your brain. But if you really want to remember, is you want to get it into the cells of your body. So they would be moving as they're learning, so that wisdom kind of becomes part of their whole being, and then they would remember it better and be able to recite it. And that's a very simple bit of schooling, but you can see that so much more in the rest of the world that could be useful as well.
That's interesting you say it like that because also that's the way I was taught as well.
Oh,
If something comes into my system,
yeah,
I will start doing it immediately, because I need to embody it into my life. And the elders work like this as well, that if they get something and they change their system,
yeah,
they will immediately start implementing it in the community or with themselves or the relationship, because you need to bring it into life,
yes.
bring everything into life.
Yeah, not just theoretical to actually embody it and like to coin the word being it, right? I mean, that word gets used a lot, but to actually
Yeah.
sort of be what you're.
To be present with it and also to live it and to bring it into every level, assess it, like do it, bring it into your life, into your relationship, into your friendships, to bring it like down into, the uncomfortable zones as well,
Yeah,
like be comfortable with the uncomfortable, but
yeah,
bring it into your work, into the garden or whatever, into your workplace, if you're an engineer,
yeah,
bring it into that consciousness into your work
yeah,
and see how that works for you, not just in the workshop or in your mind.
yeah,
Bring it into your friends and work and see how that plays out for you in a different way, but in your own way.
yeah.
in your own way. Make it your own.
Yeah, amazing. So we've hit an hour, so I'm going to. I know we could probably talk.
I see
We could
that,
literally
yes.
talk for hours, I'm sure. But I
Yeah,
think
thank
I
you, Simon.
think well, I know because I've worked with you because I heard you speak and then I was intrigued. So I know other people will be intrigued too. So how could they actually find you? Where's the place that they could find you? Book your
Uh,
services.
Yeah, sure. I'm on my website,
Okay.
damienwynne.com slash Damien slash win.com.
Okay.
And I do a lot of, I do coaching sessions, but also webinars. And then I'm going to start doing more workshops as well of, men's group, women, mixed groups on different teams and different. So a lot of it's on, I have an academy on my website,
Okay.
and that's a lot of different webinars where I speak a lot and I work energetically on the energetics
Okay.
of the mother, the father wounds, the father traits, mother traits. I'm doing one with the ancestors as well. This is the ancestral disconnects, for example, in war
Okay.
or abuse.
Okay.
So that's all on the website.
Okay.
That's all on
And
the
then you,
website.
I know you have an Instagram as well. What's your Instagram handle?
Yeah. Just Damien Wynne.
Okay.
I do everything myself, so I'm a bit not so good on
Yeah, yeah,
that.
I know, I know. And then you also have a YouTube channel, I know as well. And so I've worked with Damien before on a number of different ways, like personally one on one. For some people, if that's not within your realm, you could also work. He does these weekend workshops as well, which are actually super powerful as well. But if you look on things like his Instagram, you'll get like he does teaser clips and videos about that as well. So I highly recommend it. And I know for men, like the energetics of the world maybe is not always seem like it's on the forefront. It may feel slightly foreign, but I've had some incredible life changes by doing this type of work. So I highly recommend people doing it. And then it filters down into your family, like whatever has from your family behind you that has affected you. That's also, you can pass it on, and you definitely do pass that on into your children, the positive and the negative parts. So I highly recommend, just even if it seems a bit much at the minute, just to check out some of Damien's work and just to sort of dip your toe in it a bit. And if you're very interested already, then Damien really is an expert on that arena. So yeah,
Yeah.
so I highly recommend it.
Thank you, thank you. As I say, I'm doing one which is an interesting one on what we were talking about, especially for men,
Yeah.
because I'm working with ancestral disconnects, and that's where maybe our ancestors were in the First World War, Second World War,
Okay.
and how that affects us in the epigenetics. So that's one I'm doing, which I'll go very deep into over the weekend. I don't
Amazing.
know when this is coming out, but
Yeah,
yeah,
this will
yeah.
probably go
So
out in a
it's all
this
there.
will go out in a
Thank
week,
you.
but I know that they can go backwards and do previous
They
ones.
can go
Yeah.
back and drop into it. Yes, yeah,
Amazing.
yeah.
Okay. All right.
Thank you, Simon.
Thanks
Thank
so
you,
much,
everyone.
Damien.
Yes.
See ya.